craft possible code of ethics. Ang magiging problema lamang po niyan is yung policing the rank may be a very hard thing to come by simply because the World Wide Web is so big. There was an exchange a while ago about MTRCB and KBP. First point is the Internet of Things is different from your TV, radio, and print. That's why it cannot be a rating body like MTRCB or a self-policing body like KBP. It cannot be part of broadcast because of the nature of Internet of Things. What can be done is probably a resolution embodying code of conduct for content creators. The technology you cannot regulate because it is something out there. And the fact that the offices are in another country, the servers are in another country, but the point raised by Attorney Gonzales on the Internet Transaction Act and the VAT on digital platforms are worth considering and reviewing in crafting a code of conduct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we go to Mr. Del Rosario.
Good morning po, Chair. Siguro po ang share ko lang po is kasi ang nakikita kong problem po, kanina na-mention ko kay Congressman Barbers, yung communication kasi, ang fake news kasi nagmumula yan kapag walang enough or convenient communication. For example, ako, I only rely on the news that I'm getting from mainstream media, from mga bloggers. So kung yung nakikita ko online on my timeline, nakikita ko napapanood sa TV and radio. So, siguro kanina, for example, I asked around, paano ba magkaroon ng access dito sa House of Representatives? Paano po makasama na ma-invite as part of the media? Ganon. So, na-mention ko kay Congressman Barber, sabi ko, I've tried replying to the email, yung mga email po na nag-invite sa akin dito, pero walang sumasagot. So, twice na po ako nag-email, nag-reply ako, pero walang answer. So, kaya nga, I appreciate na pinadalan ako bigyan ako ni Congressman Barbers ng email address para direct na sa kanya. So, siguro, ganun nga po. Ang nagmumula po kasi yung fake news kapag kulang ng information na nakukuha namin. So, ang nangyayari, kasi po ang balita, ang nilalabas po namin, sometimes, unahan po yan eh. Kapag kayo ang nauna, kayo ang babasahin, syempre, kayo ang papanoorin. Pero pag kayo nahuli, kung napanood na nila o nabasa na nila from another media, wala ka na, hindi ka na babasahin, hindi ka na pupunta ng iyong followers dahil nabasa o napanood na nila. So siguro kung gawin nyo ng mas magandang communication channel, so every time kasi ang ginagawa ko ganon. For example, pag meron kaming problem sa LGU ng Pasig, taga Pasig po kasi ako, so I communicate directly with the VP, the mayor, and binibigyan naman nila ako ng access para mas madali ko sila makontak. So ganun din po sa mga government officials kasi, for example, I get invitation from government agencies. Na-invite po ako sa DOST, DOT, DepEd. So pag may mga events sila, may mga press releases sila, we get it. Pero yung hindi naman po lahat, hindi po lahat nagbibigay ng ganong convenience na magbigay ng information sa amin para we can properly disseminate yung mga information na tama. And it's not very easy to, for example, meron kaming tanong, ang hirap, walang sumasagot po eh. So, wala kaming choice kundi maglabas ng news na kahit incomplete. So, yung nga po yung sanang gusto kong i-share na mas maganda, bigyan niyo po ng open communication, mas magandang communication channel. Yun lang po.
Thank you. The next is Attorney Claire Castro.
Yes, thank you, Your Honors.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Your Honors. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the Honorable Chairman, to the Honorable Committee Chairman of Public Order and Safety, and to the Committee on Information and Communication Technology and Committee Chair on Public Information. I love to vlog because I want to impart knowledge, I want to impart the truth, and I love to talk, and I love to communicate. But my main source of income is being a trial lawyer. But anyway, vlogging and podcasting is one of the tools to inform, misinform, or disinform. And this is the very main issue why we are here today to discuss its usefulness and destructiveness. Like in the Smirnoff drops of advice, dance freely, drink responsibly. So let's just enjoy the social media platforms freely, but use them responsibly. Otherwise, they may cause tremendous damage. And when it becomes destructive because it was used and abused by so-called fake news vloggers or irresponsible vloggers, diyan tayo magkakaproblema about the state of having a healthy and balanced relationship with technology, encompassing the mental, emotional, physical impact of digital devices and online activities on an individual. Affected na masyado ang disposition mo sa bahay at sa buhay. At may mga nagpapakamatay dahil sa mga fake news na ito. Just like KBP or Kapisanan ng Broadcasters ng Pilipinas na nagde-regulate sa mga broadcasters na may code of ethics na dapat sundin. Kung mayroong MTRCB na nagre-regulate regulating those being shown, exhibited, or aired over the radio, TV, and through movies, unlike in the social media, habang may internet ka, you can connect to the whole world in live stream with unlimited time, but without edit. Worldwide and reach kung sino-sinong may gadget. Ito ang tinatawag nating video on demand. Pwede kang manood kung kailan mo gusto at paulit-ulit, pwede mong i-share kahit kanino. There may be appropriate penalties according to our existing laws. And if a responsible individual or group of individuals continues unabated, it may now be necessary that additional laws be enacted to address the problems. For me, i-regulate kung kinakailangan pong i-regulate sapagkat ito ay through internet at worldwide ang scope. Anytime, anywhere, live stream without edit. Registration of vloggers is one of the key solutions to prevent troll army or fake accounts. Just like cars. If you have several cars, register them in your name. If you have several social media accounts, register them in your name. It might not be that easy. Pero pag gusto, may paraan. Pag ayaw, may dahilan. Biktima din po ako ng fake news at ng mga irresponsibleng vloggers dahil sa aking ginagawang content. YouTube accounts like mine, Batas with Attorney Claire Castro and Let's Clear It with Attorney Claire, madalas din nababash, lalo na ng mga panatiko sa ibang mga politiko. Mahirap habulin, especially kung hindi alam yung identity at walang mga mukha na nakikita sa kanilang channel or social media platforms. So, matuto at magkaroon na lang ng tamang pag-iisip sana at critical thinking ang hangad natin dito. Makapagbigay ng katotohanan para ito ay para din sa ikaw unlad ng bansa at ikaw ang unlad ng bawat Pilipino. Dahil kapag mali po ang inyong nasasagap na balita, hindi po tayo magkakaroon ng tamang desisyon. We are also reminding them to be patriotic and not a fanatic. Leaders come and go, but we only have one country to live and stay with our children and loved ones. Mahalin natin ang ating bansa dahil ito lang ang tanging yaman natin. Hindi tayo kakalingain ng ibang bansa. handa na po akong samagot kung kayo po ay may mga pagtatanong. Salamat po.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, let's finish first all the invited resource persons with their opening statements before we start asking questions.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Next one is Mr. Elijah San Fernando.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to read my statement, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good day, Mr. Chair and members of the TRI Committee. I am Elijah San Fernando, former student regent of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, the current National Vice President of the National Federation of Labor, one of the oldest and at one point in history, one of the largest federation in the Philippines. Also, Mr. Chair, I am the first nominee of Kamanggagawa Party List. I do not have anything against vloggers, Mr. Chair, although I do not consider myself one. I consider myself as an advocate who got lucky to be bestowed a platform. Let me preface this by categorically stating that I do not earn from these platforms, nor am I paid by anyone, not by any politician, pogo operators, foreign entities and personalities, nor criminal cartels. I am only beholden to the working people to whom I owe allegiance and membership to. I thank the members of this august body for inviting me to this important committee hearing to craft an equally important piece of legislation. I believe that our democracy is indeed under threat, but the threat does not come from ordinary people like us, but from bad faith actors lurking in the shadows, trying to manipulate the elections and social engineer the Filipino people. Let me categorically state also that I know that free speech is not absolute. No less than the highest court of our land has repeatedly said that. But the Supreme Court is also emphatic in defending the primacy and preference of free speech over other substantive economic freedoms and other liberties. For it is only when the people have unbridled access to information and the press that they will be capable of rendering enlightened judgments. In the oft-quoted words of Thomas Jefferson, we cannot both be free and ignorant. The Philippines, Mr. Chair, already has one of the most restrictive shackles to free speech: criminal libel and slander. I should know, because I was also a victim of this while amplifying the voices of the workers in Manila City against an oppressive and illogical local ordinance. As early as 2012, the United Nations Human Rights Committee, commenting on a case of a journalist convicted of criminal libel, Alexander Adonis, has stated that imprisonment is never an appropriate penalty for libel, and that criminal libel in the Philippines is excessive. Also, as a signatory to the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, the Philippines needs to honor its commitment to freedom of expression and free speech by decriminalizing libel. In 2023, no less than the Speaker Martin Romualdez has signified his intention to the media to decriminalize libel as a way to declog our jails. It is therefore clear, Mr. Chair, that the threat to democracy comes not from more speech, but the dangers attached to exercising it. Ordinary people, Mr. Chair, are scared to speak up because of criminal libel. That is why they create parasocial relationships with social media personalities who apparently exemplify and are able to exercise this freedom. Vloggers are a way for the muffled masses to express what they cannot publicly express, which creates a cathartic release for their frustrations and disappointments to our social order. This would somewhat explain, Mr. Chair, the rise of the Dutertes and the Tulfos, because they are polyglots who speak the language of the masses. They have harnessed the frustrations of the ordinary folk and have become beacons for people demanding swift justice, however twisted their brand of justice might be to other people. This does not in any way mean to say that everything in social media is good. Troll farms, fake news, paid and faceless bloggers and vloggers, and artificial intelligence, deepfakes, are just tip of the iceberg. A deeper dive at what experts term as inauthentic behaviors are bad actors and political opportunists. And yes, Mr. Chair, politicians trying to cash in at the ignorance of our fellow Filipinos and at the expense of our democracy. This is what this committee should look into, and not ordinary people who are only exercising their free speech. However unpalatable, uncouth, or irreverent their speech might be. As representatives of the people, this Congress should be the bulwark of our much cherished freedoms as foundations of our democracy. To end, Mr. Chair, I subscribe to the quote often ascribed to Voltaire, that I may disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me time to speak.
Thank you. Can we hear from Scamwatch, Madam Josel de Guzman or Mr. Josel de Guzman?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Do I have the floor? Thank you, Mr. Chair. First and foremost, we would like to thank this body for inviting Scamwatch Pilipinas in order to contribute. I know a lot of you, this is the first time that you're hearing about this campaign. So let me first introduce to you Scamwatch Pilipinas. Scamwatch Pilipinas is a volunteer group, a volunteer education campaign by my company, Truth 360, in collaboration with the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center and the ICT, together with the NPC and the NTC. The objective is very simple. It's educate one Filipino at a time against online scam or against cyber fraud. Our objective is prevention, rather than helping those, we also want to help those who got scammed, but our focus is prevention. And we created this together with the other members in order to have a different approach to online scam education. Because if you notice, the government offices, the private sectors, and other groups, when they educate against scam, it's always what is phishing, don't share your OTP. So it's all technical. And however, given the rise of AI now, when it comes to scamming, people can no longer catch up with the latest scam that there is. That's why when we approach CICC, Yusek Alexander Ramos, we propose a different approach. This one is attacking the attitude. Because during the pandemic, the digitalization of Filipinos have been accelerated. Suddenly, our life has become digital. Our kids have been going to school online. We've been working online. We've been paying our bills online. We've been transacting online. And before we know it, after the pandemic, our digital economy has grown to 2.03 trillion according to the Philippine statistics, according to the PSA. So in this aspect, what we realize is that we Filipinos didn't experience or we didn't have formal digital literacy and cyber hygiene in schools. We were just there. Even during the pandemic, the kids don't even know good manners and right conduct online because no one taught them. So what we are proposing is that we created the Contra Scam Attitude, which consists of very basic. Because right now, Filipinos don't have, of course, we need the long term, but we did a bite-size content. We did a bite-size education program, the 4 M's, the Magdamot. So we are pushing to be Magdamot for Filipinos simply because the scammers are now stealing your personal data. So don't share your mobile number because this is the access to your e-wallet. Don't share your email address, as simple as that. And also, stop the attitude na, oy, buti na lang, 100 pesos lang yung nawala sa akin. So magdamot, okay? But if you multiply that with the number of scams, the 100 pesos is big. The other one is magduda. This is very basic. Don't believe everything that's too good to be true. And people, because of FOMO, a fear of missing out, let's say for instance, last Christmas, if you see, let's say, a 5,000 worth of an iPhone Pro Max, diba? 5,000 lang siya, Filipinos still wants to buy that, baka lang, totoo. Okay, so that's why we're pushing for magduda. The other one is mang snub. This is very basic and this is my favorite simply because when we were kids, we were taught not to talk to strangers outside. But here, because we are the social media capital of the world, and because we are hidden, we think that we are hidden behind the screen of our mobile devices, we actually talk to everyone. We even nakikipag-away nga tayo eh. So these are the three. And the last one is what we notice, this is our contribution to CICC when they discuss to us the 1326. Okay, so magsumbong. So what we realize, we've been communicating the 1326 hotline since September 2023, and I'm sure if I tell you, if you have families who got scammed, where do they report? I'm sure, even though we have a successful campaign, even a lot of media carried our campaigns, a lot of you still don't know that you should report to 1326. Because most of the scammers are John Doe. These are organized crimes, okay, according to CICC, and you don't have a suspect. So the first line of defense right now is the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. So that's why we partner with them first. So these are the 4 M's. And since September 2023, we were able to launch the Contra Scam Attitude, pushing those attitude, report to 1326 campaigns, the Holiday Watch that revealed the 12 scams of Christmas, if you've seen those on TV. Actually, those 12 scams of Christmas are your regular scam. We just labeled them 12 scams of Christmas so that Filipinos will be aware. We recently launched the Unmatched PH, where we profiled the different love scammers, because love scam is your entry point to investment scam, and then loan scam. And then we also partnered with DOTR and SAIC for the online Bantay Lakbay last summer, wherein we also help educate Filipinos through the use of traditional media, the various travel scams that there are. So, given all these campaigns, we were recognized by the Global Anti-Scam Alliance as the top 3, one of the top 3 best anti-scam awareness campaign in the world. However, we are not happy with that simply because at the end of the day, scam is increasing. Our technology partner Gogolook has reported that, at least from their end, they reported more than 6 million tech scams in 2024, 600,000 call scams in 2024. And the sad part of that is that, according to the State of Scam of the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, only 67% of Filipinos don't want to report scams. That's the sad part. That's why CICC, the 1326 hotline, given all these millions of scam, they only had like 11,000 calls in 2024. And the e-report function of the DICT for the eGov PH app, because you can already report scam in that app. They were only able to gather 15,000 report. So that's very low. That's very low. That's why we are calling, I'm going to use this opportunity at first to suggest and recommend some valid 4 points. The first one is the amendment of the SIM card registration law, because there's one loophole there that will also address the fake news problem and fake Facebook account problem. And that is the unlimited, that anyone can register unlimited number of SIM cards. That needs to be fixed immediately. That's why I would like to also commend the PNP ACG, because almost every day they are apprehending a lot of pre-registered SIM cards. Okay, so any person can own as many. There were even records that one person has 300 registered SIM card under his name. And of course, during that time, a lot of the scammers are also paying Filipinos at least 500 to register a SIM card. So that's the immediate problem. So we are proposing to put a limit, okay, to put a limit in the SIM card registration per person. That's one. Number two is that we ask everyone to make the Interagency Response Center hotline 1326 of DICT and CICC as the center for scam hotline reporting. I know we have a lot of hotlines there, but we just want to know that the Filipinos can now run by dialing 1326 hotline so that everything will be centralized, at least for those incidents that you don't have any suspect. The third one is create an education programs across all sectors, okay, across all sectors, from the students up to the senior citizens to the working, by focusing on the attitudes. And the third one, and the fourth one is, I think I just have 3 points, sir. So that's, we don't cover fake news. However, we are going to, our next campaign is to help Filipinos identify deep fakes, simply because that's the next trend right now. And a lot of celebrities, even media personalities, are being used to sell food supplements, promote cryptocurrencies without their knowledge. So that's my statement, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Before we proceed further, let me recognize the presence online of the Honorable Jude A. Asidre, the Honorable Edgar M. Chato, and the Honorable Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales Jr. Magandang hapon po sa inyo. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I finally remembered the last. I think this is also very important. This is holding the social media companies accountable for fake accounts, because majority of the scams right now are emanating from Facebook. And let's say for instance, I create a new account, okay? I create a new account under a different name, okay, with the same name or same personality, and I just change one letter. Facebook will not remove it. So in this aspect, I think what we need to do is that there should be a clear coordination between government agencies to take down scam pages, because right now we are not allowed to report on someone's behalf if those pages are scam. So nire-report lang po namin sa e-report system. But I think kailangan pong maging accountable yung mga social media companies, particularly Meta. Thank you.
Chair, short
Thank you.
comment lang, Mr. Chair. I just would like to give a short comment.
Sige.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I also echo yung pagpapanagot sa kabagalan ng mga social media platforms dahil nga sila naman supposedly yung nakaka-regulate kung sino yung mga gumagawa ng accounts pero halimbawa, Mr. Chair, lalo na kapag may init na issue, yung mga supporters talaga, yung mga diehard na mga supporters, halimbawa ng Vice Presidente, grabe agad mag-bounce, tapos ko i-check yung Facebook account, fresh lang kakagawa, tapos ang pangalan halatang gawa-gawa, tapos lock pa yung account, Mr. Chair. So kapag ganon, halata talaga na hindi yun mga totoong tao na merong disagreement doon sa ating mga opinion. Kasi kung totoong tao, nakakausap natin sa mga house to house, iba yung pagtingin nila sa pagtingin natin, okay lang yun, bahagi ng demokrasya. Pero yung pag-manufacture ng public opinion para palabasin nila na sila yung may mayorya ng suporta ng tao at gamit nila ay yung mga account sa Facebook, mali talaga yon. Ang isang bagay lang, Mr. Chair, na sa bahagi natin ay iba yung pagtingin natin ay yung dun sa SIM card registration. While I appreciate yung efforts naman ng ating mga organizations at may mga bagay naman na pinagkakasundaan natin, pero kung sa bahagi lang po ng SIM card registration, kasi tayo sa Kabataan Party List, we voted no to that kasi alam natin mag-a-arise pa rin talaga yung mga paraan para ikutan ang pag-abuso ng mga SIM cards. In fact, Mr. Chair, merong mga troll farms na yung itsura hindi na lang tao yung mga nagla-like, nag-share. May nakita tayo, Mr. Chair, na lumitaw din online na pagbulgar sa ano na yung itsura ng mga ganitong troll farms. Wala nang tao, Mr. Chair, halimbawa ganito yung cellphone. Tapos meron lang silang improvised na mini machine na yung ginagawa. Hindi nga tao, Mr. Chair, parang plastic lang na magsa-swipe up, tapos magla-like, tapos swipe up, tapos magla-like, tapos swipe up, magla-like. So ganun, Mr. Ganun na ka-sophisticated. Kaya kaysa mag-focus dun sa merely targeting sino yung mga gumagamit ng mga SIM cards for bad purposes, tumbukin na talaga natin yung mga troll farms. Lalo kung may ma-identify tayo, dapat na ma-raid na yung mga yun, Mr. Chair, para tumigil na once and for all itong mga ugat ng pag-abuso ng paggamit ng mga online platforms. Yun lang, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is from SWS, Ms. Linda Guerrero. You have to say anything?
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair. I am not Linda Guerrero, although she's here with me. But I am from Social Weather Stations. I'm the Vice President. Ms. Linda Guerrero sent an email or message yesterday indicating
Okay.
that I may be the one to represent po. But nonetheless, she's here.
You have the floor.
Okay. We understand that we are asked to be here because in the news there was mention of a congressman citing the SWS survey and saying that in our third quarter survey we did not include his name. That's why we are here. But in Social Weather Stations, I'd like to say that we have been in doing research for almost 40 years. We were established in 1985. We used to conduct surveys on a semi-annual basis. Now we are conducting surveys on a national basis. Of course, that frequency varies depending on the requirement. But in the surveys that we do, we measure or monitor many things: local government performance, self-rated poverty, quality of life, poverty, hunger, among the different issues. And now, given that it's election season, there are times when we have conducted electoral surveys. And if those surveys are released publicly by whoever sponsored the survey, we, based on the Code of Ethics of the World Association for Public Opinion Research, we release the certain requirements. They include, among others, what the survey period is, what the particular questions are, who commissioned the surveys, and specifically what the results are. So all the official releases of SWS are in our website, www.sws.org.ph, including the one mentioned by the congressman. Yun po. And we also have a warning in our website saying that it could be na dahil election season na, may mga pagkakataon na may lumalabas di umano na election surveys na gawa ng SWS, pero ang sinasabi po namin, kung ang survey na sinasabi niyon ay wala sa website ng SWS, ay hindi po kami magbibigay ng komento. Dahil lahat po ng official releases ng SWS ay nasa aming website. Yun lamang po, sir.
Thank you. And last but not the least, we have Ms. Juliet Havillana of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon po. We earlier sent a letter po to the joint committees stating our initial position. But with your permission po, I'll cite a few points. The Philippine Daily Inquirer po is primarily a print news publication, and therefore we felt that our expertise on social media regulation is limited. However, we are happy to be here, no matter how humble our contribution might be, because we believe that this is an important venue to address a very critical challenge of our time. So, Mr. Chair, the inquiry would like to reiterate our commitment to the pursuit of truth as the fundamental mission of journalism and our essential role in a democracy. And we do that through a very clear set of editorial policies and guidelines. And we also wanted to show transparency and accountability to our readers. Like there's KBP for broadcast networks, print news publications, we also are members of alliances like the Philippine Press Institute. We subscribe to the Journalists Code of Ethics, and the Inquirer in particular is a member, active member of the World Association of News Publishers, which advocate press freedom and quality journalism. And we are also a member of the Contra Panata, Panata Contra Fake News Anti-Disinformation Campaign led by GMA Network. And through that, we would like to do our part in combating disinformation. And so, Mr. Chair, we are one with the joint committee in a noble objective of fighting disinformation and fake news because of their adverse impact on individuals, institutions, and public discourse. As pointed out in the privileged speech of Representative Robert A. Swarbers, and as you pointed out, Mr. Chair, in your opening statement. The media industry globally is also grappling with this information because with this information and even targeted attacks, Mr. Chair, which are amplified on social media and via algorithms or troll farms. This affects public trust in news organizations and makes the digital space not ideal or safe venue for public discourse. We have seen in the US how Elon Musk, for example, is using his platform to disparage the professional media, of course, along with the US president. And in the Philippines, we've seen how the media was targeted during the previous administration. But we also take important note about the committee's commitment to upholding press freedom, as Congressman Barbers has repeatedly said during this hearing, that this is not about suppressing freedom. And we take note of this commitment in the House resolution to uphold our press freedoms. And we humbly submit, Your Honor, that any regulation or amendments to our laws must not be used to infringe on our fundamental freedoms, to stifle dissent necessary in a healthy democracy, or to foster a climate of fear. And we know, we're conscious that the committee is conscious about the thin line between regulation and suppression of press, freedom of expression and of the press. However, we do recognize, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, that we have enough laws that need better enforcement, but also there's a need to update some of our laws because of the emergence of newer technologies like AI or deepfakes that can be used to produce harmful content. And we believe also, we share in the, I think the consensus here is we see a need for more gatekeeping and better accountability from big technology companies, Google, Meta, TikTok, because those are the platforms that are used by a majority of Filipinos. And because the spread of disinformation and propaganda can endanger not just individuals but national security, as for example in the West Philippine Sea issue, and undermine our democracy, for example during elections. In ending, Mr. Chair, ultimately we believe in promoting better public awareness and education as the more effective weapon to counter disinformation and cybercrimes. And we thank the committees for consulting the different sectors to address this problem. Many people remain unaware of cybercrime risks and their rights under the laws, and the government must conduct cybersecurity awareness campaigns and promote digital literacy in schools to create a more responsible future generations of Filipinos. Of course, the private sector and especially professional media organizations were also doing our part. For example, in the Inquirer, aside from countering disinformation, Your Honor, and trying to report the truth as much as we can, we also have long-running programs like Read Along and Inkskwela with our public school students to develop their love for reading and also to develop their critical thinking abilities. And we'll do our share, Mr. Chair, for whatever expertise that we might be able to contribute to the outcome of this committee. Thank you very much.
Marami pong salamat, ma'am. There's a new blogger who would want to say something. Mr. Mark Louis Gamboa.
No. Hello po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you po for once again inviting me. I'm Mark Gamboa, businessman, political blogger, and also senatorial candidate. Gusto ko lang din pong sabihin kasi po dito po pangalawang hearing na po natin ito ng fake news at maganda po itong ginagawa natin. Maganda po ma-define po natin mismo ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng fake news eh. Kasi po yung simple na criticism minsan ay sinasabi na po na fake news. Kailan ba nauso itong term na fake news? Kailan ba siya sumipa? I believe it was 2015, 2016 nung panahon na naging presidente si Duterte and also Trump. Si President Trump, pag sa Amerika po, lahat ng balita na hindi pabor sa kanya, ang tawag na niya fake news. Diba? Sa akin po, hindi po ganun eh. Maganda maihiwalay po natin kung ano yung criticism na pwedeng gawin ng kahit sino, protected by free speech, and yung mga statements na libelous talaga at nakakasira talaga. Gusto ko pong i-cite din yung example after nung unang hearing po natin ng TRICOM. The following day, nagkaroon ng impeachment. Merong isang lumabas na page pretending to be Congressman na Lord Dansuan. The working congressman yung pangalan ng page. Tapos naglabas siya ng statement kung saan parang pinapalabas na para yung pirma doon sa impeachment, merong kapalit na ganitong proyekto o kung anuman. So, ito po ay sinabi na ni Attorney Suan na fake news after some time. Pero ang problema po, kumalat na po yung post na yon, umabot sa 100,000 reacts. Ang dami nang nakakita, ang dami nang naniwala na merong ganong klaseng issue o may ganong klaseng pangyayari. By the time na nakasagot na si Congressman Suan, sinabi niya fake news yan, that page is fake. Sobrang dami na po nakakita. Milyon na po yung nakakita. At yung kanyang explanation ay dahil maliit lang yung kanyang page, ay konti lang yung nakakita. I think yun po yung isang example ng fake news na talagang delikado at kailangan tutukan po natin eh. Yun po mga simpleng kritisismo, yung mga simpleng yan po ay kasama sa ating freedom of speech. Kaya po I would once again want to reiterate yung pong aking panawagan para sa isang 24/7 na fake news monitoring office. Kasi sa ngayon po, wala kang pwedeng sumbungan kung may makita kang tingin mo ay fake news eh. Maganda po sana merong opisina under sa isang sa DICT o sa Office of the President o kung saan man na pwede pong tignan. Pag meron pong lumabas, may nag-viral na post na ganon, pwede niyang tawagan kaagad yung congressman involved o tapos ipopost po kaagad. Pwede pong makita ng publiko na fake news pala yung nakita ko. Kasi sa ngayon po talagang wala pong pwedeng pagsumbungan, walang pwedeng mag-clarify, walang page na nagka-clarify pag meron pong mga nagba-viral na mga fake news po na ganyan. Kaya hopefully po ay yun po yung mga isang paraan para po ma-minimize. Kaya po matapang yung pong mga nagkakalat ng fake news sa ngayon kasi po wala pong nagbabantay sa kanila. Masyadong matrabaho naman po kapag magsasampa pa ng kaso sa NBI o sa kapulisan, sa cybercrime. Minsan po hindi na po umaabot sa ganun at masyado pong matrabaho para po sa ordinaryong citizen para mag-file pa sila ng mga kasong ganun. Pero kung meron pong ahensya o merong opisina na tinitignan, no, ito, fake news to. Sino bang gumawa nito? Sino bang gumawa ng page na to? Kung paulit-ulit na gumagawa sila ng mga page na puro mga kasinungalingan yung nilalabas, tsaka po ipapasa na sa proper authorities o sa cybercrime para po magawa ng aksyon o masampahan po ng kaso. So thank you very much po.
Thank you. And we will have for the last blogger, Commodore Tariela.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not a blogger though. I'm the spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. To the esteemed chairpersons and the distinguished members of this tri-committee, my co-workers in the government, and my fellow countrymen, isang magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. I was honestly pleased to learn about the House of Representatives' decision to hold a public hearing addressing fake news, disinformation, and misinformation on social media. I believe this presents an opportunity for us to finally establish legislation that holds trolls, influencers, and bloggers accountable for their online content. It is important to note that one of the greatest challenges facing the Philippine government in the West Philippine Sea, aside from China's bullying, unlawful activities, and aggressive actions, is combating the spread of fake news and disinformation that obscures the true narrative of events in the West Philippine Sea, leading to confusion and division among our people. Teka lang, sir. When President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took office in 2022 and declared that he would not surrender an inch of our territory to any foreign power, many questioned the meaning behind his words, especially since the previous administration claimed that all was peaceful and under control in the West Philippine Sea. This misconception stemmed from the belief that the prior administration had effectively managed the situation in the West Philippine Sea. Between 2016 and 2022, only 3 incidents were reported to the media. The first one is in 2019, when Filipino fishermen from Mindoro reported that their boat, FB Jimber, was rammed by the Chinese maritime militia in Recto Bank. The second incident was in 2021, when the AFP chartered resupply boat was hit by water cannon. And the last one, on that same year, when over 210 Chinese maritime militia were reported by the Philippine Coast Guard swarming near Julian Felipe Reef. The limited reporting of these incidents, combined with the narrative that the former president's diplomatic effort had successfully convinced Xi Jinping to allow our fishermen to operate freely, contributed to the false sense of security among the Filipino people regarding the West Philippine Sea. Therefore, for President Marcos to deliver his commitment of not surrendering a square inch of our territory to any foreign power, he has to unite the Filipino people. And the only way that we can unite our highly polarized country is to awaken their sense of patriotism with the right information.
This is the reason why the Transparency Initiative of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea was launched in 2023, and it has two main objectives. First, it aimed to raise awareness among the Filipino people about the realities in the West Philippine Sea, emphasizing why these issues matter, and outlining the legitimate basis of our position. It is important to highlight that President Marcos' commitment of not surrendering is a goal that may be challenging if Filipinos lack enough understanding of what we are fighting for. It is an open book that President Bongbong Marcos has inherited a nation where fake news and disinformation have dominated the discourse surrounding the West Philippine Sea issue. Secondly, the Philippines sought to expose Chinese aggression to help the global community to recognize that there exists a powerful nation in this region that disregards international law, jeopardizing peace and stability in this part of the globe. We wanted the world to understand that the Philippines' struggle in the West Philippine Sea is not merely about our maritime jurisdiction. It is a fight for everyone who supports a rules-based order and believes that international law serves as the equalizer for all nations, regardless of size. Fortunately, over the past 2 years, we have successfully achieved our objectives. Regarding the awareness of the Filipino people, a recent survey conducted by Okta Research revealed that 84% of Filipinos support the national government's efforts to defend and assert our maritime rights in the West Philippine Sea. Additionally, a Pulse Asia poll indicates that 7 out of 10 Filipinos are unlikely to support pro-China candidates in the upcoming 2025 midterm election. However, as we have successfully countered fake news and established a strong factual narrative in cyberspace, we have seen a significant increase in pro-China trolls. This has only strengthened the resolve of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea to be more transparent in exposing China's actions, as no amount of falsehood can prevail against the truth. Despite our efforts, social media platforms, as reported by the DICT in the last committee hearing, have become the primary medium for these trolls to disseminate disinformation and fake news, reaching a large portion of our population. The narrative of these trolls can essentially be categorized into 5 main arguments. First, they claim that our legal standing in the West Philippine Sea is weak. They undermine the 2016 arbitral award, and they even asserted that the PRC holds a much more justifiable historical claim with regard to their 9- now 10- lines. Secondly, they present a distorted version of events, echoing China's narrative that incidents occur due to Philippine actions that resulted to vessel collisions, for example. Binangga na tayo, papalabasin pa ng trolls, Philippine Coast Guard ang may kasalanan dahil tayo daw nabangga ng China Coast Guard. Third, they argue that the Philippines' decision to stand firm against the People's Republic of China's aggression is merely dictated by the United States, suggesting that our transparency efforts are actually orchestrated by the Americans under the guidance of Ray Powell. Fourth, they even employ a defeatist argument, claiming that we are powerless against China and that insisting on our rights could even lead to war, and it would be easy for China to invade the Philippines in just a matter of days. Lastly, they contend that the tensions in the West Philippine Sea have only escalated under the current administration of President Bongbong Marcos. They said that there were no such tensions during the time of former President Duterte. Another damaging tactic employed by pro-China trolls is to attack the messenger. When we launched our transparency initiative aimed at exposing Chinese aggression in the West Philippine Sea, I was relatively unknown, having just returned from Tokyo after my PhD studies. However, as we gained traction the weeks following our launch, I became a target for these trolls who sought to tarnish my reputation as a Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea. They unearthed and amplified the fact that I was a discharged cadet from the Philippine Military Academy, that I was not able to graduate from PMA. And they even attempted to portray my postdoctoral fellowship in Washington as the time of my recruitment as a pawn of the United States government. Their attacks even escalated, labeling me as a pro-US lapdog and even a CIA recruit, that even my mother is having a difficult time to understand dahil wala daw po sa mukha kong maging CIA. Eventually, they fabricated another lie, alleging that I was even receiving a $4 million talent fee from the US Embassy. Kung may $4 million akong talent fee, kahit isang bayad lang, hindi na siguro ako haharap sa Kongreso ngayon. When that failed to damage my reputation and public confidence in me, they even went further, concocting a story that I visited personally the residence of Speaker Romualdez to receive 3 black bags. Although hindi nila sinabi kung ano ang laman ng black bags, but for the record, I don't even know the address of Speaker Romualdez. While these lies are absurd, and they're not only frustrating, but also deeply unfair to my family, I am committed to my role in exposing Chinese aggression and raising awareness among the Filipino people so that we can unite as one nation with a renewed sense of patriotism. My efforts are not motivated by the Americans, nor for any political ambition. My dedication is for the future generation of Filipinos. The awareness we instill in today's youth will reshape the future direction of our struggle in the West Philippine Sea. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commodore Tariela. Before we proceed further, let me recognize the physical presence of the Honorable Geraldine B. Roman. Magandang hapon po.
Mr. Chairman,
The Honorable Barbara
after listening to all our resource persons, I get the impression that our resource persons present in this committee hearing today agree to the fact that there must be a code of ethics or code of conduct among actors in the social media platforms. So, yan po ay isa sa mga layunin nitong ating committee hearing na to. And we would appreciate, Mr. Chair, if we can ask them to perhaps send to the committee via email your suggestions as to how we can craft a regulatory policy in the use of our social media platforms in the country. Other issues such as paano po kasi napakalaking problema talaga ng fake news. I'm sure hindi lamang ito sa Pilipinas, no. In fact, other countries, no, has also come up with regulations, no, dun sa kanilang bansa, no. For instance, sa Egypt, no, meron po silang nagpasa rin sila ng ilang mga batas to regulate the distribution of information and its accuracy in print and online media as well as social networks para pugsain ang paglaganap ng fake news. Meron din pong ilang mga journalists at website administrators suspected by the government of publishing fake news at sa tingin ko, isa yun dapat nating tingnan din when we craft this policy. Sa Singapore naman po, meron din silang batas doon na nire-require ang social media platforms kagaya ng Facebook, YouTube, X, na magkaroon ng warning sa mga posts that the government deems false at pinapayagan pa ang gobyerno to remove comments that are against public interest. Dito kasi sobra nananawagan ng kudeta, nananawagan ng kaguluhan sa bansa, no? So Sa Singapore nga, di ba, nililimit yun. The government of Singapore will take down immediately all these contents or posts that proposes such violations or such actions. Sa Brazil naman, para sa kanilang 2022 elections, nagkaroon sila ng deal with Facebook, no? Para mapigilan ang paglaganap ng fake news in relation to the upcoming elections. Kabilang sa parte ng deal na ito ay ang number one, pag-prohibit sa mga advertisements which call into question the legitimacy ng kanilang elections. Kasi meron pong experience daw sila na hindi pa tapos yung election, meron na nagpapalabas ng resulta, no? Which creates confusion among perhaps their voters. Number two, yung removing posts that violates policies on our voter suppression. Number three, paglalagay ng mga label sa post about political elections at dire-direkta ang mga tao sa website ng kanilang electoral justice for more reliable information. So sa China, ganun din. In fact, hindi nga nila pinayagan pumasok dun yung mga social media platforms, and they created their own, no, so that they can regulate and ano. So, gaya ng sinasabi namin paulit-ulit dito, the attempt of this committee or layunin ng committee ito ay bigyan puwang ang ating gobyerno na magkaroon tayo ng regulatory policy. Ayaw po nating maabuso ito. Gaya nga nung sinabi ng ilang resource persons, this is for the next generations to come. No? Other than that, of course, we heard serious and alarming information coming from websites that tried to create chaos in the country and confusion. No, last hearing, if you recall, Mr. Chair, Press 1 PH ba yun? Your Press 1 PH, no? Press 1 PH revealed before this committee that there were several attempts, no, from a website that they discovered were coming from China to destroy the credibility of our president and the like, no, meaning all other politicians for that matter. Meron naman din pong website that are coming from China which promote, no, other politicians or other candidates. So again, diba, may intervention, may interference yung mga foreign countries sa ating bansa which we should not allow. And we can only do that kung meron po tayong regulatory policy. So that's exactly what I want to say, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Barbers, kasi if you remember...
Wait to be recognized by the Chair, please.
Sorry po.
The rule of the committee is that please wait to be recognized by the chair before you speak. Okay? You
Sorry
want to
po.
say something? You have the floor.
Yes, kasi during the first joint meeting, yung February 4 po, nagkausap kami ni Congressman Barbers. Sabi niya, I can submit a proposal. So, yun ang ganyan ginawa ko actually. The same, immediately after the meeting, gumawa po ako sa bahay, tinapos ko po siya. I think inabot ako ng 7 pages na gumawa ako ng mga proposal. Yung mga nire-request niya. So, I sent it through email, pero wala naman po bumalik na response on that. So, it was a 7-page long list of recommendations about yung mga possible na pwedeng gamitin or gawin na parang regulatory. Kaya wala pong feedback kasi eh. Kaya walang nangyari.
That is correct, Mr. That's the reason why I gave him my email address so that he can email that to me and I can forward that to the committee.
So I'll email it again, sir.
Yes, please. Kasi baka nasa ibang email pumasok eh.
I sent it through the same email na nagpadala ng invitation.
And the COMSEC, so can you check your email, please, kung merong nakapasok sa
Anyway, I'll
Just
send it
you can
to you
send it
again.
to my email so I will just share it to the committee. Salamat po.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.